Well, the next person who's going to talk is Terry Jones from the National Housing Federation, who's going to tell us something about their neighbourhood audit process.
Okay, well, thanks very much for the opportunity to present to you this morning, and also tell you about the work the Federation is doing in terms of neighbourhood investment. And I think this is obviously a group of people very interested in this area, and hopefully you've all heard about the neighbourhood audit that the Federation has undertaken. As you're probably all aware, housing associations are about more than just bricks and mortar. I mean, they provide a whole range of things like health clinics, supported employment, community wardens. I mean, the range of things are vast. But as a lobby organisation on your behalf, we often find that people don't realise the extent of what housing associations are about. That's why it's so important to continually give the evidence on your behalf. And that's the main reasons why the Federation undertook the neighbourhood audit, is undertaking the second neighbourhood audit. And what I want to do is tell you about the first audit and why we're undertaking the second audit, and also some of the member and also sector benefits for participating in this particular survey. Okay, in terms of the key takeaway messages I want to leave you with, is obviously, first of all, please complete the audit, and also ask any other members you know to complete it as well. But also want to thank all the members that have actually completed it so far. We've had a good response so far, but always looking out, obviously, to get a complete picture of what's going on within the sector. Also wanted to tell you about some of the findings from the first audit, and also some of the impact it had in terms of policy and lobbying work as well. And lastly, I wanted to tell you about what we've learned from the first audit and put into operation in the second audit. Again, some of those member and also sector benefits. Okay. Well, the audit itself, what it attempts to do is measure the inputs and outputs that housing associations engage with to deliver their neighbourhood services. In terms of inputs, we're looking at staff, also staff costs, your financial inputs, and also funders' inputs as well. So they're the main inputs that we measure within the survey. But we also measure outputs. So that's the number of people and also the number of homes that benefit. We use that term quite broadly because obviously we're measuring such a range of services that would be impossible to take it to any other level. So in terms of benefit, it's what you perceive as the number of homes or the number of people that benefited from a service. So in terms of how the first and second audit compare, if you look at on the slide itself, I think it's a good explanation. On the first audit, it was a sector-wide level measurement. So we measured that across the sector, and obviously we've got the report from that with all the top-line figures. What we've managed to do on the second audit is also give you, through an Excel toolkit, the ability to have those measurements at an organisational level, which is really important if you want to give that information out to your stakeholders, your funders, local authority. I mean, that information there is a valuable source you can use in whatever way you want. But also, again, because of the data collection method, we're able to collate that data and also present it in groups of interested housing associations. For example, we're working with the airport group to give them a complete summary of what the airport group members do as well. So that would give you then a regional flavour for Manchester about the sort of activities that housing associations are undertaking. So obviously we know about the G15 airport group. Quite a few other groups are interested in that facility. If you're working in any informal groupings with other housing associations, if you and those members also make sure you return an entry to me, but also let me know who those constituent parts are, I'll also be able to produce you a summary sheet as well. So again, that's a service that the Federation is offering free of charge, but obviously you can only take advantage of that if you participate, fill in the questionnaire, but also let me know you know, who those constituent parts are that I need to produce a summary report for. So again, the value of that is quite, I think, quite a lot. If you've gotten a consultant in to do that work, it costs you quite a few £1,000s. So obviously that's a free service we're offering to members there. Basically what it shows, and I couldn't fit all the services on, it just shows you the wide range of services that housing associations provide. I mean, it's immense. I mean, literally I couldn't fit all the services on. And the only reason we know that is from the first audit. And I just think it illustrates that you do so much, but it's so easy for people outside the sector to say, well, what do you do? And without that evidence base, especially a national evidence base, you just haven't got the ammunition to say this is what we do. So, again, that's one of the difficulties with actually undertaking something like the audit, because what we've had to do is design a questionnaire that captures all this at a national level. So it just shows you, if anybody's interested in the methodology issues, that just shows you some of the issues that we did face, but also some of the benefits we got from undertaking the survey itself. Okay, and again, this is what it came down to, the crunch numbers. I think this is the top line of the survey that, you know, from the last audit. Basically, what we identified is that housing associations provided nearly 7,000 additional services. I mean, you saw the list of sort of services they provide, it's huge. And that benefits something like 1 in 10 of the population. And to do that, you invest something like £435 million. Until that survey was undertaken, we have no idea what the scale and the scope of that activity was. And I'll go on to talk about some of the impacts it's had in terms of lobbying and campaigning on your behalf. I mean, for example, one of the key things was supporting the independence campaign. If you remember the Housing and Regeneration Bill a few years ago, that the progress through Parliament on that, and it obviously prevented regulation of these sort of services 2 or 3 years ago. So it did have a real impact on how you operate as providers today. So, I mean, we did learn a lot from undertaking the first audit. I undertook the first audit, and the thing I learned was never do it again, but unfortunately it's come back to haunt me. But one thing I did recognise, that you as providers of the information had to do a lot of, I mean, it was time consuming, it did take a lot of time, but the only value you got from it was the final report that benefited the whole sector. So what we thought about was, how can we make it beneficial to you as organisations? So what we did, we used an Excel toolkit, and importantly that has a summary sheet now at the back of it, and I'll go on to talk about how you can use that. We've also included an additional question to look at how your expenditure may change over the next 1 to 3 years. And again, that's good for lobbying in terms of, you know, trying to change debates, especially with things like the big society, and also the squeeze, you know, the squeeze on our tenants as well. Because we're using an Excel sheet, we've embedded lots of additional help functions, drop-down menus. So we did hear you. We know the form was, before it was a flat form, it could be difficult to complete, but what we've embedded within the new Excel form is as much supporting information as we could provide. We've had a few rolling dates in terms of completions. The next date is the 25th of November. Okay, in terms of the member benefits, obviously this is a toolkit that you can use free of charge over and over again. It's on our website, you can download it, use it annually, however you want to use it. It's a way of capturing within your organisation the types of things, you know, the type of neighbourhood investment that you do, and it's there to use as often or as little as you want. As I said, at the back of the toolkit there is a summary sheet, and that gives quite an in-depth analysis of the types of funding that you make, who benefits, what the ratio is in terms of your own input as opposed to external inputs as well. So there's a really comprehensive summary sheet at the back once you've filled it in. What we're also hoping to do is at the end of the survey is give out benchmarking information. The quality and depth of that information we can't determine yet because it depends on the number of respondents to the survey. So obviously the ability to drill down will depend on the number of respondents. So it may be we can only give it at a regional level or by types of associations. But we'll try and give the most comprehensive benchmarking information that we can give based on the number of people that responded to the actual survey itself. Importantly, I mean, I think that'd be quite useful because I know that Housemarque do benchmarking information, but there just isn't any information out there like this because there isn't a survey like this that's undertaken. So it'll give you some interesting insight into what your organisation is like as well. The other thing we're looking to do is give bespoke summary reports to groups of interested housing associations. So I've used the example there of the airport group or the G15. It doesn't have to be a formal group. It may be that you're working in a loose collaboration with another housing association and you want to get a summary report for both those organisations put together. The other thing we're able to do is promote members. In the last report, we promoted over 50 housing associations. That was either within the reports itself or in media. We got loads of coverage in Inside Housing, The Guardian, stuff like that. We're looking to do a Guardian online article in the next few weeks. I think Riverside are going to be used as a case study in that as well. So Riverside here today. So again, the more you tell us about what you do, the more we can use you in case studies to promote you as organisations. And the other thing we can do to our members is through the information you provide, our funding and partnerships team can match up what you do with funding pots as well. So I know that we work with, I think it's called the Coalfield Regeneration Fund, and what they wanted to do was find out which housing associations do employment initiatives in certain parts of the country. So obviously we went back to our data sources from the first audit and we picked out a number of housing associations. In terms of the sector benefits, obviously the first report was the first ever national evidence base to show what the sector's doing in terms of these activities. And I think it was really important in terms of changing perceptions, and you know, we had a real good story to tell there. We've used it so many times at the Federation, in to parliamentary committees. It's been in a whole range of reports, and it's come at such an important time. So things like the Big Society. So, for example, it's been mentioned so far in 2 think tank reports. I mean, it's just quite a wide coverage that it got, and we're hoping the second audit will get obviously a lot more because we've got comparison data and a lot more depth to give there as well. It's been reported in America and it's been reported in Europe. So it's had, you know, not just a national impact, it's been reported worldwide, and that just, it reflects on us as a sector as well. But again, without the evidence base, unfortunately that's the way it's going. Policy making is dependent on evidence. I mean, it's good to have case studies, but without this sort of report, it's really hard to, you know, to create and maintain a picture of what is us as a sector. So lastly, just wanted to leave you with a thought. It's not just about us having impact as a sector, it's also about us having impact on an individual. And this was one of the case studies that really touched me. It was the quote there, it was taken from a chap, Adam, that got onto an apprenticeship, and it really changed his life. So tell us those stories, and we can actually, you know, we've got a vehicle here to show that to, you know, high-level policymakers.